Hello everybody, welcome back to our CMA classes. So we were doing our corporate governance law wala chapter. Okay, so today we are going to cover few of the major topic of corporate governance, which is the remaining part, and definitely we are going to complete this chapter today. Okay, so in this chapter we are going to cover the NGRBC, what is the meaning of NGRBC, and what are the principles which is going to be covered in NGRBC. Apart from that, we are going to cover some of the major committee, okay, and some of the major reports. Okay, so what are you waiting for? Let's do it. So what is, first of all, NGRBC and how it's going to be applicable in the company? Okay, NGRBC stand for National Guidance on Responsible Business Conduct. Let me say it again. NGRBC stand for National Guidance on Responsible Business Conduct. Okay, so the NGRBC is designed for what? Definitely for all the business. Okay, not taking into consider their ownership, size, sector, structure or location. So tell me whether it's going to be applicable on MNCs. Okay, so let's go for it, check out whether they're going to cover them or not, as this is definitely saying it cover the it doesn't cover, it is not taking the consideration whether they are belonging about the ownership. They are talking about the ownership, okay? They are talking about the size. They don't bother these things, okay? Whether depending on size or not, or the sector or ownership and all, okay? So it is expected that all the companies that are invested or operated in India, okay? So definitely this topic NGRBC is going to cover the companies which is in the India, including foreign multinational corporation, which I was talking about, the MNC. So definitely MNC is going to cover in this part, okay? So in MNC also NGRBC going to applicable. Okay, hope so this part is clear, right? Let's go for it now. So including foreign multinational corporation has to be abide by these guidelines. The NGRBC also provide a useful framework for guiding the Indian MNC in their overseas operation by aligning them with applicable local national standard norms that are governing the responsible business conduct. So basically this is a guidance, okay, which is provided to each and every company. They are not, some particular factors are not affecting this part, which means whether they are having a large scale, okay, about this sector, about the location, about the ownership is unbothered in this case, okay. The NGRBC is going to be applicable, okay, and in this MNCs are also going to be covered, okay. So this is basically a simple guidance given to each and every company, how you have to perform, how you have to conduct the business, okay. The responsible business conduct, which means to regulate the business, okay. So let's go for some of the principle of NGRBC. The National Guidance on Responsible Business Conduct comprises 9 thematic pillars. So how much? 9. So I'll tell you one thing, please pay attention. There could be question come from this part, which means what is the full form of NGRBC? NGRBC stands for what, and how many principles are covering this part, okay? So what I told you, you have to cover each and everything, guys, okay? Don't leave any topic, okay? So let's go for it now. So the NGRBC comprise 9 principal pillars of the business responsibility. They are known as what? Definitely they are known as principles. These principles are interdependent, interrelated and non-divisible, and all business are urged to address them holistically. Section 1 of the guidelines guide all companies on adoption and implementation of the principle. And let's go for it. Number first principle, business should conduct and govern themselves with integrity and in that manner that it is ethical, transparent and accountable. Okay, so this point is saying the principle ensure ethical behavior in all the factor, function and processes. Okay, so let me highlight the main thing which is mentioned in every principles. Okay, so first of all, first principle is going to say about what? The integrity. Okay, and with that integrity, the business should conduct with ethical, transparency and accountable. Okay, So these principles are ensuring ethical behavior in all the operation, functions and processes. The basic of business that are guiding their governance of economic, social, environmental responsibility. It considers that the business are an integral part of society and they will hold themselves accountable for the effective adoption, the implementation and the making of disclosure. So first of all, with these guidelines, some major impact is going to happen, okay? And how it's going to work? Let me write it here, okay? That is with these adoption, let me write here, with these adoption, the principle, okay? They are talking about the principle adoption, the implementation of these principles, okay, in the business and disclosure, okay, definitely performance of business is going to affect, right? Okay, so number first we have covered the first principle. Let's go for the second principle says that the business should provide the good and services in a manner that's sustainable and safe. Now we know the term sustainable, okay? What is the meaning of sustainable? Let's go for it now. The principle emphasizes that the business have to focus on what? Safety and resource efficiency in the design and manufacture of their products. These products have to be manufactured in such a way by which create value by minimizing and mitigating its adverse impact on the environment and society through all the stages of its life, from design to disposal. As we all know that there are so many processes involved while making any of the products, okay? Whatever we are seeing the final product, we are only seeing the final product, okay? There's so many process which is involving like from the scratch, okay? If you want to build empire, so first of all we have to start from very zero level, which means from the scratch, okay? And to build an empire, it's take a lot of time, lot of efforts, lot of money, okay? So these things are involved. We know well, to make any of the product there are so many processes, so many different departments are involved, okay? So they are saying every resources definitely, and what happens, hit and trial basis the products are sometimes made, right? They are tested on so many people, okay? So while manufacturing the products, first of all what happens, sometimes we are not sure about this product is going to be good on the consumer, okay, or it's going to be give the negative or positive effect for the consumer. So the products are made on hit and trial basis, okay? So these are the things where on hit and trial basis we know once we are making the product, what happens, we used to spoil the resources, okay? So here they are talking by minimizing the spoilation of the resources, okay? Also whatever the resources are there with the company, so that should be utilized properly, okay? So this point is saying the goods and services in a manner that is sustainable and safe to the environment, definitely, which is saying disposing of that waste products, okay? So hope so this point was also clear to you. Let's go for the other point, which is definitely of this part, okay? This principle encourage business to understand every material sustainability issue across, yes. So we have covered integrity, first part, first principle. Second, about the sustainable and safe. Third, says about the business should respect and promote the well-being of all the employees, including those in their value chain. So what happens, as we are reading corporate governance and we have covered the CSR, okay, where there was one point was saying about not to discriminate, right? To also keep some points in related to women, right? Which is also one of the part which we can say about the hygiene, okay? So there are so many points which we can cover, okay? So they are saying in third principle, they are saying the business should respect and promote the well-being of all the employees. As if suppose I can simple give you example, if the employee so if the health of the employee is good, then definitely he can give his 100%, okay? So efficiencies given by the employee would be more than, I can say, 70 to 80%. Okay, so they should be right, interval should be given to the employees, and some of the sanitary facility should be focused, okay, in the organization. And for example, one more thing, water facility, okay, this is also the very important point. Okay, so let's go for the thing which is covered in this part, the principle which is saying about well-being of all the employees and including those in their value chain. So let's go for it. The principle encloses all the policies and practices that are about the equity, dignity and well-being and provision for the decent work for every employee that who are engaged with in business or in value chain without any discrimination and any way to contribute to the diversity. The principle identifies the well-being of the employee and the welfare of her family. Okay, so with the, they are saying with the health or well-being of employee, the family of employees should also be focused. Okay, so let's go for the fourth point. Fourth point is about the business should respect the interest of and be responsive to all its stakeholder. As I told you, stakeholder is not one simple term, this includes so many things. Okay, so let's go for it. This principle says, this principle recognizes the business operate in ecosystem that consists of some stakeholder being shareholder and investors, and the activities affect natural resources, habitat, communities and environment. The principle brings into the light that business have responsibility to maximize the positive effect and minimize mitigation and the negative impact of the product, operation and practices on their stakeholders. Okay, so apart from what happens, apart from that employee, third point, okay, the principle is saying about the stakeholders. Okay, so the business should also keep respect the interest of whom, the stakeholders. Okay, let's go for the fifth point, fifth principle. The business should respect and promote human rights. Now, what is this human right they are saying about? As we have covered the point in employees, okay, there was one principle and the principle was of third principle was saying of employees, well-being of employees and their family. Now they are saying again about the to promote human rights. So what is difference in these 2 points? Let's check out. The principle identifies the human rights are rights that have to be inherent to all human being, and these guidelines are applied without discrimination. These human rights are considered to be inherent, inalienable, interrelated, interdependent and indivisible. This principle is inspired, informed and guided by the Constitution of India and International Bill of Rights, and recognizes the primary of state duty to protect and fulfill human rights. So they are talking apart from employees now. Okay, definitely they are going to cover the employees, okay, but this is a huge term again, okay, and the employees are going to consist in this part. Okay, so hope so, yeah, this point is also clear. Let's go for the sixth principle. Business should respect and make efforts to protect and restore the environment. Okay, these principles give preference to environmental issues that are interconnected at local, regional, global level, doing business to address the problem like pollution, biodiversity, conservation, sustainable use of natural resources and climate change in comprehensive and systematic manner. The principle encourages firms to adopt environmental practices and processes that minimize or eliminate the harmful effect of the operations across the value chain. Moreover, it persuades business to follow the precautionary principle in all the actions. Definitely, what are they going to say? This is definitely going to be correlate with the principle 2, which was saying about business should focus on sustainable and safe, right, of the environment. So this is also saying the same thing about the protection of the environment and restore it. Okay, so what happens sometime, what we have, let's take about the machinery. Okay, if the company is having the spare machinery, so that machinery could be used for further. Okay, let's say it like we can give the machinery for lease, or the machinery can be given sublease, lease, okay, or the overutilization of machinery should be done, right, or the work should be done on shifts. Okay, so this means the resources, definitely they are going to say to maximize the use of each and every resource. If you are unable to take the use of that resource, you can definitely give it to outsourcing. You know the meaning of outsourcing well. Okay, so definitely we can give the resources or make it useful for us. Okay, and do not spoil it. Okay, so what happens, these are the few minor things from which we can definitely think about the environment, and we can definitely protect our environments. Okay, there are so many examples. I have just given one example how to reuse. Okay, how to reuse that thing or how to make it useful, that's it. Okay, so this was saying about the business should respect and make efforts to protect and restore the environment. So I'll tell you, so far we have discussed 6 principles and they are somehow related to each other. Okay, as I told you, 6 is related to 2. Okay, definitely 5th is related to 3rd. Okay, and definitely and this 4th, which means the stakeholders, is also somehow related to employees now, because employees are also the part of stakeholders. Okay, so they are interrelated to each other. Okay, so let's go for principle 7. Principle 7 is saying about the business when engaging in influencing public and regulatory policy should do so in a manner that is responsible and transparent. Okay, this principle coincides that the business operate within a specified national, international, legislative and policy framework that guide their growth and also provide specific restriction and the boundaries. Okay, the principle recognize the legitimacy of business to engage with government for redressal of grievance or for influencing public policy. In addition to this, the law demands that public policy advocacy has to expand public good. So they are also focusing on what the public. Okay, if anything is done against public interests, definitely government is going to take the action here. Okay, let's go for the principle 8. Principle 8 says about the business should promote inclusive growth and inclusive growth and equitable development as the business is running. Okay, so that company, that organization is also going to contribute toward the economy, toward the GDP of the country, which means the development of the country. Okay, if it is doing good, right, if it is also working outside the India, which means any of the product is exporting, okay, which is going out of the India, in that case it is going to give the positive effect, right, the through FTP and all, okay, the performance is going to be enhanced, and from that the contribution definitely going to increase, and that's going to affect in positive way our contribution toward the country. Okay, so let's go for it and find out what is this principle 8C. The principle identifies the challenge of social economic development that are faced by the country and enhances the national development agenda according to the government policies and priorities. This is significant in zones that are affected by social disharmony and low human development. The principle mentions the need for collaboration among business, government agency and civil society in this government agenda. The principle retains that the business success, inclusive growth, equitable development and interdependent. Okay, and we are going for the last principle, which is saying about principle should engage with and provide value to their consumer in the responsible manner, which definitely is going to say if we are talking about the customer, so things should be made as per customer preference. right, as per customer demand. Okay, and things should be provided at the right place on the right time, right? What happens if the consumer want that product and that product is not within the customer range where he or she is living? Okay, so for one product it's not possible, you are going 50 kilometer far away from where you're staying. Okay, if it is very necessary for you, if it is need for you, definitely you're going to take it, but otherwise for a regular normal person it's not possible that to travel 50 kilometer or more than that you are going to purchase that product. Okay, so the availability of product should be given within the range of the consumer. Okay, so study of market should be done first of all. Okay, and demand, definitely demand of the consumer should be focused. Okay, and things should be provided to the consumer with best quality, on time, before time, definitely. Okay, and at various different locations. Okay, so let's go for it and find out what the principle is saying here. The principle is based on the fact that the primary aim of business entity is to supply goods, okay, and services to whom? To definitely to the consumer, and that are safe to use, creating value for both. It recognizes consumer having freedom of choice for the usage of goods and services, and the enterprises strive to provide the product that are safe, competitively priced, easy to use, safe to dispose, and which is going to benefit the consumer. The business play a significant role with other relevant stakeholder in mitigation the adverse effect from the excessive consumption of its product that are overall well-being of the society individually and society. So let's take a very quick, let's go for each and every principle now. Okay, I'm going to focus on the main part only. Okay, so the very first principle was of what? Integrity. Okay, which is going to affect the ethical, transparent and accountable. Okay, this is going to give impact on these things. Okay, second business says about this, second principle says about the sustainable and safe. Integrity, sustainable and safe. Third, well-being of employees. Third से ही related. Fourth, stakeholders. Very good. ठीक. And fifth was of what? Promote human right, which is again related to third na. Okay, very good. Sixth says about protect the environment, right, which is related to second wala principle. Okay. Seventh says about of the public. Okay. Eighth of the growth and equity development, and ninth about the consumer. Okay, hope so you get my point. These were the 9 principles. Let's go for some of the main committee now. Okay, there are some committee made, okay, for the corporate governance. What happens once the business is conducted? Okay, so many things happen once the business is done. Okay, so sometimes it's not give the result as we think. So there are some with definitely the organization is working for profit, but what I said, as we are reading about the corporate governance, the organization should also focus on what? The resources, the planet, right, about the being socially or economically or environmentally, right. So with these things there are some committee form, okay, which are keeping the things of corporate governance in the mind. So let's go and check out what are these committee focusing on. Okay, Cadbury committee report. This is actually only just a second. This is just only up to this. Okay, Cadbury committee. Okay, I have made some other point of Cadbury committee report. Okay, we'll read it later, but now it's of Cadbury committee 1992 and it's of USA. Okay, let's find out what is this committee saying now. The Cadbury committee was set up in 1991 with view to overcome the huge problem of scams and failure occurring in corporate sector, right. What happens, as I told you, sometime when we start doing the business, we don't get the profit or we don't get the result as we thought. Okay, so the corporate sector was facing so many huge problem related to scam and failure Okay, so worldwide in late 1980s and in early 1990s, it was framed by whom? The Financial Reporting Council in the London Stock of Exchange and Accountancy Profession. So this was framed where it was formed. Okay, it was formed in London. Okay, this we are talking about this. Okay, this was actually in USA. Okay, this is not in India. Okay, this was not formed in India. Okay, let me say it again. It was formed by the Financial Reporting Council, FRC. ठीक है, the London Stock of Exchange and Accountancy Profession, with the main aim of addressing the financial aspect of corporate governance. What are going to be the objective in this? ठीक है, first of all, I told you the main objective. Main objective was to address the financial aspect of corporate governance. But apart from that, there are some other objective. Let's go for it. To uplift the, let me take the other pen. To uplift the low level of confidence, both in financial reporting and in the ability of auditors to provide the safeguard which the user of company reports sought and expected. Second, to review the structure about the right role of board of directors, shareholders, auditor by making them more effective and accountable. To address various aspects of accountancy profession and make applicability recommendation wherever it's necessary, and to raise the standard of corporate governance. Keeping in this view, the corporate committee published its final report on 1st December 1992. The report was mainly divided in 3 parts, where they were focusing on the reviewing the structure and responsibility of board and recommending a code of best practices. Okay. Second, to considering the role of auditors and addressing the number of recommendation to the accounting profession. And third, to deal with the right and responsibilities of the shareholders. Okay, these point I have actually earlier covered. Okay, so I'm not focusing on this part. Okay, so what they were trying to do to make the changes or to make the recommendation so that the performance of the organization would be enhanced. Okay, so in which company this is going to be recommended? Only on the listed company. Hope so this point was clear. Okay, this Cadbury committee was of which year? 1992, and it is of USA. Okay, this part was of USA, this committee was of USA. Let's go for the other part, and they are going to be of which country? Comment below, you have to guess. Okay, as the name says, Rahul Bajaj committee, you know which country. Okay, this is of India. So let's go for it, guys. The commitment of Bajaj Group to highest standard of corporate governance predates the provision of SEBI listing regulation and clause 49 of listed agreement. Ethical dealing, transparency, fairness, disclosure, accountability are the main thrust of the working of Bajaj Group. The first corporate governance code of companies in India, Desirable Corporate Governance, a code, was released by the Confederation of Indian Citizens, which is CII, in 1997. So the first institution initiative in Indian industry to develop a, basically here comes the main thing. Okay, so this was a small introduction. Okay, so this is one of the India's committee first of all. Okay, and they were focusing on what thing? Some standard is to be maintained. Standard of what? Let me take other pen. Let me say it again. Standard, the highest standard of corporate governance with the provision of SEBI listing regulation. Okay, so let me write it here with SEBI listing regulation. Okay, and clause 49. Okay, so they were focusing on what part? They were focusing on, let me write here, the transparency, right, the fairness, the disclosure, the accountability, okay, and ethical dealing. Okay, hope so this point was clear. So let me make it very short. Okay, let's don't rush in very huge part. Let's go for the other part which says about the, let's go for some of the public concern regarding which was the initiative made by CII. Okay, the first institutional initiative in Indian industry to develop and promote a code for the corporate governance. This initiated by CII followed from the public concern regarding where the protection of investor interest, especially the small investor, were protected, right? What happens, as I told you, as I also covered this point of the majority shareholder in law. Okay, so what happens, we only think about the majority part, right? We don't think about the minorities, right? So there was some protection made from whom? The minority investor, which means this very small investors. Okay, so the promotion of transparency within the business and industry were made. Okay, so what happens, sometime the promotion, as let me give one example. If the promotion of product is not done properly, okay, as we can see one of the astrology ad now in social media, and every influencer is saying, talking about that by this astrology app I was, the Pandit told me this, and that happens in my real life. Okay, so this is the promotional activity, right? They know which people they have to keep, they have to focus, right? So they are focused on the social media influencers or the actors and so and so people. Okay, so this is going to affect which people? Us, definitely, because we are influenced by them, right? We are influenced by them, the influencers, right? And we are keeping them as idol, role model, and whatever the role model says, we gonna apply in our daily life, right? So this is one of the promotion, okay, the promotion activity. So what happened, the promotion of transparency should be definitely in the business and industry, right? The transparency is one of the advertisement of the industry, okay, which is going to affect the definitely the organization, definitely the employees. Okay, the employee is going to retain there. Okay, and another, what is going to happen, it's going to give the efficiency, attract the other employees to join the company, to join that organization. Okay, hope so this point was clear. Let's go for the other point. The need to move toward the international standard in terms of disclosure of information by the corporate sector. Once the growth of organization is happened, okay, what happened, we'll go this is the second step, right? We think about to cross the boundary, which means to follow about the international. Let's go for the exporting of goods are exported outside, right? Definitely going to affect our economy, going to give the growth, right? Growth is going to happen, development is going to happen, right? Economy फिर वही वाला चीज़, GDP सब, ठीक है? And in this case what happened, if the principal standard, okay, principle and standard, which is it is to be accepted by the company, the globally accepted standards is to be accepted by the company. Okay, that means standardization of the policy of the accountancy is going to be happen in the company. Okay, this definitely going to make the understandability of that financial statement easily by any person across the worldwide. Okay, so this is what this point was saying, and through all of this develop a high level of public confidence in the business and industry. A national task force set up with Mr. Rahul Bajaj as chairman presented the draft guidelines and the code of corporate governance in April 1997. Hope so this point was clear. Let's go for the recommendation. Only listed company is going to apply this, the Rahul Bajaj company, and turnover of 100 or paid up of 200 crore. 100 crore turnover, 20 crore, 220 crore paid up share capital, whichever is lower should set up the audit committee within 2 years once they have met the criteria of 100 crore turnover, paid up of 20 crore. Hope so this point was clear. Let's go for the third committee, Kia Chandrakate committee. Now what is this committee saying? Definitely they are going to say about the corporate governance, okay, but they would focus on different aspects. Okay, let's go for it now. The board committee have been constituted to deal with specific area, okay, and the activities as mandatory by applicable rules, regulation or delegated by board, which needs a closure review. The terms of reference of the committee define the scope, power, responsibilities and composition of the committees. The chairman of the respective committee briefed the board about the summary of discussion held at committee meeting. The minute of meeting of all committees are placed before board for their perusal. Further, this is effective cross-committee discussion wherever required to ensure proper inter-committee coordination and to bring uniformity. The chairperson of the committee gives brief to the board on summary of discussion held and recommendation of the committee members. Okay, what are their objective now? They focus on to check and to report on compliances, to pinpoint the non-compliance and inadequate compliances, to protect the interest of directors, officer, to avoid legal action by law enforcing agency. And let's go for the recommendation. Paid up share capital of rupees 5 crore should constitute audit committee. Okay, which committee? The KR Chandrakante committee. Okay. Okay, and constitution and committee should disclose in the annual report. So what is the difference between these two? I mean the Rahul Bajaj and KR Chandrakante committee. As let me take about this part, okay? The KR Chandrakante committee are not only focused on the shareholders, okay? They are focusing on those points on due to which the growth or efficiency of the organization was affecting. Okay, so they are focusing on the negative area also to make it positive, right? In very simple language I can say this, okay? So they are making pinpoint on non-compliance and on compliance, okay? So they are focusing on each and every point here, okay? On compliance, on a non-compliance, on inadequate compliance also, okay? But why they are focusing on the inadequate compliance? To make it proper, to make it adequate, right? To protect the interest of the directors are focused here. Apart from shareholders, they are also talking about the directors, employees and all, okay? Officers and all, and to avoid legal action by law enforcing agencies and other. Okay, these were the things. So they were in Rahul Bajaj, okay, committee, they were focusing on the investor, right, about the minority investor, remember, okay? Promotion of transparency was there, okay, and to move toward the international standard, okay? These were the, let me write here, right, they were focusing on the investors, okay, and promotion of transparency, okay, and third, international standard, okay? Hope so this point was clear, okay? I'll tell you again what happens. Sometime question may simply ask, let's take about like 4 marks question, okay, to differentiate between these two committee, how we are going to write it. So you know, keep a key point in every point which is difficult for you. Let's go for, let's say by some of the key points should be highlighted in every part, right? So you can easily formulate the answer. Okay, so let's go for the last committee, which is KUMAR Mangalam BIRLA committee. Okay, now what is this saying, this committee? The KUMAR Mangalam BIRLA committee was formed in 1999 by SEBI to develop a recommendation for corporate governance practices. There was one more committee who were focusing on the SEBI guidelines. Which was that? I already discussed it, hai na? You have to comment below. So okay, and from an investor perspective, so you can simply relate it, okay? They are also focusing on which part? The SEBI wala, okay? They are focusing on the SEBI guidelines, okay? and with that they are also focusing on the investor perspective. Okay, the committee divided recommendation into mandatory and non-mandatory categories. What are their objective now? To suggest suitable amendment to the listing agreement executed by stock exchange with the companies. And one more thing, Kumar Mangalam as a name we are very familiar, this is of India, this committee is of India. To suggest a suitable amendment to the listing agreement executed by the stock exchange with companies to measure to improve the standard of corporate governance in listed company in areas such as continued disclosure of material information, both financial and non-financial manner, and frequently of such disclosure responsibility of independent and outside directors, to view corporate governance from the perspective of investor and shareholder, and to prepare code to suit the Indian corporate environment. Okay, now let's go for when this audit committee have to made, okay, and is there any meeting and by how much time they have to conduct a meeting and all. Let's go for it. Okay, audit committee meeting 3 times a year is going to held 3 times a year. Okay, 3 times a year. The committee should meet at least thrice a year. One meeting should be held before finalizing of annual account and one necessary every 6 months. Okay, the quorum should be either 2 members or 1/3 of member of audit committee, and minimum should be there 2 independent directors. Okay, quorum 2 or 1/3 of member and minimum 2 independent directors should be present there. The committee should have minimum 3 members, all being non-executive directors, majority of independents. So they should have minimum 3 directors, 3 members, okay, and all of them is going to be non-executive directors, and majority is going to be more than 50% is going to be independent, right? Independent. Chairman should be independent director and should be present at the AGM. Company secretary will act as secretary of the committee. Mandatory recommendation. And let's go for what are the recommendations. Share capital of 10 crore and net worth of 25 crore. Okay, these are the criteria. If they are fulfilling the criteria, in that case they have to form this committee, right? So I have discussed the 4 committee. Cadbury committee, this is of USA guys. Rahul Bajaj committee, definitely India. KR Chandrakanti committee is definitely of India, and again the Kumar Mangalam BIRLA committee is of India. Okay, let's go for reports now. Okay, and I'll be very quick, and this is going to be the last topic. Okay, trust me. Sorry. As one other country is developing of corporate governance in UK was initially the finding of trilogy of quotes, that is the Cadbury report, which is related to Cadbury committee 1992, the Greenberry report 1995, the Hampel report 1998. So what is the difference between these 3 reports now? Let's find out. Cadbury report 1992, the recommendation covered the operation of main board, establishment, composition, operation of keyboard committee, the importance of contribution that can be made by non-executive directors. Okay, the reporting and control mechanism of the business. It recommend a code of best principle, okay, which the board of all listed company registered in the UK should comply and utilize a comply or explain mechanism. Okay, what are they going to give? The best of the practices, best code of the practices, which is going to be applied by every company in the UK. Okay, the mechanism mean the company should comply with the code, but if it cannot comply with any particular aspect of it, then it should explain it why they were unable to do so, why they were unable to comply the the best practices of code in their business. Okay, this disclosure give investor detailed information about any instances of non-compliance and enable them to decide whether the company is non-compliance is justified or not. Okay, so definitely this report is going to focus on establishment and composition, right, operation of keyboard committee, importance of their contribution, and about the non-executive director, and they're going to provide the best practices, the code of best practices to be conducted in business. Okay, so let's go for the Greenberry report, which is of 1995, central to the Greenberry report. Recommendation was strengthening accountability and enhancing the performance of the directors. These two aims want to be achieved by the remuneration policy, including full disclosure of the element in the remuneration of the director, and the performance measure linking the rewards to the performance of both company and individual director. So the Greenberry is actually focusing on the accountability strength of directors. Okay, so about the remuneration, okay, about the committee, and how the performance of the directors are measured individually, and while individual directors and the shareholders and everything, okay, and on the company's basis. Okay, so they are interlinking them. Okay, so the Greenberry was focusing on directors. Hope so this point was clear. Let's go for the Hampel report 1998, and please keep these years in your mind because this might come in form of what? MCQ. Okay, let's go for it. The Hampel report, like it precures, also emphasize the important role that institutional investors have to play in the company in which they invest, which means they are focusing on investor, right, in which they invest, which means they are talking investor who is going to invest in which company? The investee company, right? They are focusing on whom? The investors. Okay, where they are investing in the investee company. Okay, hope so this point was clear. It is highly desirable that the company and institutional investor engage in dialogue, and institutional investor may consider use of their share. In other words, institutional investors should consider carefully the resolution in which they have right to vote and reach decision based on careful thought rather than engage in box tricking. Okay, so basically Hampel report is focusing on the investors. Okay, this is the difference. Greenberry's report is focusing on the directors, and the Cadbury report is focusing on the codes of best practices. Okay, they are also talking about measuring with SEBI and all. Okay, so hope so you get my point. Okay, so this was the end of this chapter, the corporate governance, guys. That's it, and I'll come with more videos. ठीक है, तब तक के लिए क्या करना है, रिवीजन करते रहो, स्टे कंसिस्टेंट एंड कीप मोटिवेटेड. दैट्स इट गाइस. तब तक के लिए रिवीजन, डू द रिवीजन, राइटिंग प्रैक्टिस, पास्ट ईयर, प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चन पेपर्स, गो फॉर ईच एंड एवरीथिंग, डोंट लीव एनी पार्ट. दैट्स इट गाइस. आई come and come with more and more chapter. Simple. This is Soumya Santosh. And one more thing, if this video was little bit informative, useful for you, then what you have to do, hit the like button, subscribe my channel, and share this video those who are pursuing, those who are doing CA, CMA, final students and all. ठीक है, तब तक के लिए I'll meet this. Bye guys.